Welcome to Secrets of the Stars, where we explore the ancient knowledge of astrology, decode your unique blueprint, and unveil how the wisdom of the sky contributes to your life. I'm your host, Abby Lutus, astrologer, mentor, and sky guide. It's time to embark on a cosmic adventure of self-discovery and understanding why you are the way you are. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Secrets of the Stars, and thank you so much for joining me. I am really loving putting these episodes out, and today we're going to be diving into the big three in astrology because I know it is such a common theme that people already know their big three planets and points, and we're just going to dive into learning a little bit more about what they actually mean for your personality. So the big three in astrology, we're going to be talking about how they show up in your natal chart. So I'll be going into detail about the sun, moon, and rising signs. And when we're talking about the big three in astrology, there are many different types of astrology. So we can look at things like medical astrology, locational astrology, financial astrology, transiting astrology. But for this episode, we're going to be focusing on natal astrology because that's what really the big three represents in your personality. So we're going to be looking into what these planets mean in your natal chart and how it refers to your personalities, your energies of your individual persona and your cosmic blueprint. So the big three, we have the sun sign, we have our moon sign, and our rising sign. Now, the sun and the moon are luminaries, and the rising sign is a point, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But they are known as the big three, as they are really three big players in your personality. So together, I like to describe the big three in relation to when you meet someone, just so you can get a bit of a bigger picture of how they all fit together. So your rising sign is really the first impression of when you meet someone. It's the way they show up and the energy that you get from them. The sun sign is when you get to know that person a little bit more deeply, or when you connect with them as a friend, you're going to start to see the qualities of their sun sign. And only when you get to know someone very deeply, and I mean on a real intimate level, maybe it's in a very close relationship, it's your partner, it's your mother or your children, only when you get to know them at that level will you see the qualities of their moon sign. So let's break it down individually and look at what all these placements mean. So I'm going to kick it off with the rising sign. What actually is it? So the rising sign is a point on the eastern horizon the moment that you took your first breath. I like to say what energies you are rising with. So when you were born, the sun would have been at a certain point in our day sky, or it might have not been in the sky if it was nighttime, but there would have been a sign rising on the eastern horizon. This is your rising sign. It is also known as the ascendant degree, or the ascendant degree is that specific point in the rising sign. So the energies of the rising sign, it's really the gifts that you rise with, the energy that you rise with, how you show up, how other people see you. It's always located in the first house when we're talking especially about whole sign house systems. Your ascendant or rising point is always located in that first house. And that's because the first house in astrology really is about you. It's about who you are. It's about your physicality, your body, your life, your health. It's your style, and it's related to beginnings and fresh new starts. This is really what the rising sign and what the ascendant point is all about. So it's always in the first house. It's very important when you're setting up your chart, because the rising sign then will determine where all the other houses lie in your chart. And the houses are all about the different areas of your life. And the rising sign can also, or does also, indicate that the planet that is said to rule your chart. So every sign has a ruling planet. It's the planet that rules that sign, like the king of the kingdom. It's kind of like where it feels at home. And whichever sign you have as the rising sign, the ruling planet of that sign is your chart ruler. So that's a really important thing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a future episode. So that rising sign is really important because it is who you are. It's the gifts that you rise with. And often when people find out their rising sign, they're going to start to really relate to it. Some people not so much, and it can also depend on what aspects that you have with relation to the ascendant point. The other thing that is really important to note is that when you have planets or points close to the rising sign, they are going to impact your personality very deeply. So, for example, if you had the Venus, which is right next to your rising sign. Venus is all about the feminine. It's about beauty, love, money. That planet is going to have a big impact on yourself, on who you are and how you show up in the world. One more thing about the rising sign is that it is really important to know that you can read your horoscopes for your rising sign. And a lot of the time, horoscopes are written from the perspective of the rising sign. You could potentially have the same rising sign as your sun sign and as your moon. So have a look into that and see what your rising sign is. You will need to know the exact date of your birth to understand or to get the calculation of your rising sign. You'll need to know the exact time, the date, and the birth, because if you don't have that time, you won't be able to figure out which rising sign you are when you put your details into a chart calculator. Now, the rising sign can change every few hours, and so it is important to have as specific a time as possible when identifying what your rising sign is. Let's move on to the sun sign, because I really love the sun sign. The sun sign is who we really are. It is essentially where the sun was, which sign the sun was in when we were born. And this is commonly known as the star sign. It's probably the one that you know, that you read horoscopes for, and it's related to the date of our birth. We all know about, Aries season and Taurus season. And, your birthday really is an indicator and shows you what your sun sign is. So the sun sign, I believe, is who we really are, our true spirit. It's where we shine. It's where we illuminate the world. It's who we have come here to be in this lifetime. And it really gives us clues to our identity, where we hold our power, our consciousness. It is also related to our ego. It's what we illuminate and where we shine. It's what in our life life will look like this time around, I suppose. What we are here to do in this lifetime. We're here to grow into the qualities of our sun sign. I know that some people don't always feel like they have the qualities of their sun sign. And this could be, again, because there are certain aspects that challenge that. But this, it can also mean that they are not quite, they haven't quite reached that point in their life yet. And it's still coming in where they will embody those qualities of their sun sign. But it really is the energy of who you've come here to be in this lifetime. So I also think it's really important to know what house your sun is in, because this also brings in some major themes of your life as well. If your sun is in the first house, a lot of the themes in your life are going to be focused on you. They're going to be about you, your identity, your body, who you are. If your sun sign is in your 10th house, it's probably going to be focused on your career, on who you are in the public eye. It's about, who you are here to express. So it's really important to get a look at which house your sun falls in, because that will also give you some more clues to diving deeper into what you're truly here to be, where you're here to shine. And finally, let's look at the moon sign. I love the moon sign. It's such a beautiful, nourishing, beautiful sign. And the moon sign really represents our inner world. I like to say it's those conversations that we have with ourselves, the conversations that go on in our mind. It's really about how we relate to our emotions as well, because the moon is very much connected to emotions. And I also think the moon sign gives us clues to show us what serves our emotions, how we respond emotionally to things coming in from the outside world. The moon sign also gives us clues to how we access our intuition. And it's something that I find fascinating is that the moon actually has no light of its own. It actually reflects the light of the sun. And so in our personality, it's what we reflect back into the world. That's really cool as well. You can also have a look at what phase of the moon you were born on to give you more indicators of how you show up for yourself in your inner world. You might have been born on a new moon or a full moon, and they all have different qualities about how you're going to show up in the world. Something that I always tell my clients, and especially my mum clients, is that children under roughly the age of 7, I believe, show up as their moon sign because they are they're such emotional beings, and really children don't understand how to regulate their emotions until around the age of 7. So that's why if you have a child under 7, you're going to want to know what their moon sign is. And I think it's really cool to think back to when you were a child and things that the way that you responded emotionally and how you came and expressed in the world. You probably showed up with very similar qualities to your moon sign. So go back, think of the children around you that you know. If you know their moon signs, see if they resonate with them. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode on the big 3 in astrology. And if you're interested in booking in for a personal reading to dive deeper into the depths of your chart and to really understand not only the big 3, but the rest of the energies that show up in your chart, please go to my website, www.avilutis.com. And until next time, keep shining bright. Thank you for joining me on this cosmic journey of self-discovery. If you have enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with someone who you think would love it. Keep exploring the secrets of the stars, and remember, the universe has woven a unique story just for you. Until next time, keep shining bright.